When it comes to loyalty in hip-hop, one name has always stood tall: Gucci Mane. But right now, that legacy is being seriously questioned, and the reason is Pooh Shiesty. Yes, the same Pooh Shiesty who was introduced to the world by Gucci, the artist once called the future of 1017, is now sending a message that's shaking the industry. After months of silence, frustration, and behind-the-scenes tension, Pooh Shiesty appears to be done staying quiet. Sources close to the situation claim that when Pooh Shiesty needed support the most, the loyalty he expected was nowhere to be found. Missed calls. No public backing. Business moves that seemed one-sided. And in an industry where loyalty is everything, those signs speak louder than words. Fans are stunned because this isn't just a small disagreement. This feels like a complete breakdown of trust between artist and mentor. The same man who opened doors may now be the one accused of turning his back. So the real question is this: did Gucci Mane abandon one of his biggest artists when things got hard? Or is Pooh Shiesty exposing a side of the industry most people never get to see? One thing is clear: this doesn't feel like internet clout or fake beef. There's history here. There's emotion. And there's a career hanging in the balance. Today, we're breaking down everything: the signs, the silence, and the loyalty line that may have just been crossed for good. To understand why this situation feels so heavy, you have to go back to the beginning, before the tension, before the silence, before the loyalty questions even existed. Pooh Shiesty didn't come into the rap game as just another artist chasing clout. When Gucci Mane signed him to 1017 Records, it wasn't treated like a regular deal. It was seen as a cosign with weight. Gucci doesn't just sign anyone. Historically, when Gucci puts his name behind an artist, it means he sees something real. Something street certified. Something built to last. And early on, everything pointed to that being true. Pooh Shiesty quickly became one of the most talked about new faces in rap. His raw delivery, Memphis roots, and unfiltered street energy made him stand out in an era where authenticity is rare. Fans weren't just listening, they were believing. And Gucci? Gucci was front and center, publicly backing him, praising him, and pushing him as the future of the label. At least, that's how it looked on the surface. Behind the scenes, the industry works very differently. In hip-hop, loyalty isn't just about shout-outs or Instagram posts. It's about who answers the phone, who makes calls when lawyers are involved, who protects the artist when things get messy. And according to people close to Pooh Shiesty, that's where the cracks started to form. As Pooh's legal issues began to stack up, the environment changed. Suddenly, the momentum slowed. The noise quieted. And the support, the kind that matters, didn't feel as loud anymore. Now, let's be clear. No label head is responsible for an artist's personal decisions. Everyone knows that. But in the culture, there's an unspoken rule. When you build someone up as family, you don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. That's where the loyalty conversation really begins. Fans started noticing things before any words were spoken. Gucci Mane, who once promoted Pooh Shiesty heavily, became noticeably quiet. No major public defense. No visible push to keep Shiesty's name alive while he was away. In an industry where silence can be louder than disses, people paid attention. And so did Pooh Shiesty. Insiders say this wasn't about entitlement, it was about expectations. When an artist believes he's part of a movement, part of a brotherhood, he expects certain lines not to be crossed. And for Pooh, the absence of support felt like a message: you're on your own now. That's a hard realization for any artist, especially one who helped carry the label's momentum. Behind closed doors, frustration built up. Conversations that should have happened didn't. Questions went unanswered. And in hip-hop, when communication breaks down, resentment grows fast. This is where the narrative shifts. Because from Gucci Mane's side, the story may look very different. Gucci has always moved with a businessman's mindset. To him, distance during controversy might not mean betrayal, it might mean damage control. Protect the brand. Protect the label. Let the legal system play out. But here's the problem. Business logic doesn't always sit well with street expectations. Pooh Shiesty didn't come from a corporate background. He came from a world where loyalty is personal, not contractual. where standing by someone publicly means just as much as private help, sometimes more. And when those two mindsets clash, things get ugly. As time passed, fans began connecting dots. Interviews were replayed. Old clips resurfaced. People started asking uncomfortable questions. Why does it feel like Pooh Shiesty was quietly moved to the background? Why wasn't his name defended the way others had been? Then came the shift in tone. Pooh Shiesty didn't go online screaming. He didn't drop immediate diss tracks. Instead, the energy changed subtly, cryptic messages, indirect comments, body language that said more than words ever could. In today's era, fans can sense tension instantly, and they did. What once looked like mentorship now looked like distance. And distance in hip-hop is dangerous. Because once the audience believes an artist was left behind, sympathy grows fast and pressure builds even faster. The narrative stops being about music and starts becoming about betrayal. At this point, the situation had gone far beyond a simple label issue. This was personal. People close to Pooh say the frustration wasn't about money, it was about respect. About feeling like the relationship was real only when things were good. About realizing that once the spotlight faded, so did the connection. That realization hits hard. Especially when your career, your freedom, and your future all feel uncertain at the same time. Meanwhile, Gucci Mane stayed quiet. No public statements. No explanations. And while silence can be strategic, it also leaves room for speculation, and speculation is where narratives are born. Fans started choosing sides. Some argued that Gucci owed Pooh nothing beyond the contract. Others said Gucci built his reputation on loyalty and should have moved differently. And that divide only fueled the fire. By the time whispers of a call-out began circulating, the damage was already done. Whatever bond once existed no longer felt solid. The trust, once questioned, couldn't be easily repaired. By the time the whispers turned into full-blown conversations, one thing had already become clear. This situation was no longer just about business. It was about how silence can feel louder than words. For Pooh Shiesty, the absence of public support wasn't just disappointing, it felt intentional. In an industry where artists are often defended loudly and proudly, being met with quiet can feel like being erased. And for someone watching their career slow down while locked away, that quiet hit harder than any headline. People close to the situation say Pooh had time, too much time, to think. Time to replay moments. Time to question intentions. Time to wonder whether the relationship he believed in was ever as real as it looked. And when an artist starts questioning the foundation of their career, everything changes. From Gucci Mane's side, however, the silence likely had a purpose. Gucci has survived decades in an industry that punishes emotional decisions. He's known for playing the long game, protecting the brand, and avoiding unnecessary controversy. To him, staying quiet might have been the smartest move. But street logic doesn't always align with corporate logic. In the streets, silence can be interpreted as distance. And distance often feels like betrayal. As months passed, the gap between perception and intention only grew wider. Fans noticed that other artists continued to receive promotion and public attention, while Pooh Shiesty's name seemed to fade from the 1017 narrative. Whether intentional or not, the message felt clear to many watching. The label had moved on. That realization stung. Not because Pooh expected favors, but because he believed loyalty was mutual. He helped elevate the label's sound during a critical moment, and in return, he expected the relationship to hold strong when things went left. Instead, it felt like he was being slowly written out of the story. This is where the emotional shift really happened. Sources say Pooh began distancing himself mentally long before any public signs appeared. He stopped expecting calls, stopped waiting for reassurance. And when expectations die, so does trust. At the same time, fans started pushing narratives online. Comment sections filled with speculation. YouTube videos broke down every move. And once the internet decides a story, reversing it becomes nearly impossible. Pressure built on both sides. Gucci Mane, whether he acknowledged it or not, was now being viewed through a different lens. The same artist once praised for loyalty was now being questioned for selective support. And that kind of shift, because from his perspective, staying silent wasn't neutral, it was a choice. A choice not to correct the narrative. A choice not to publicly acknowledge him. A choice that felt personal, even if it wasn't intended that way. This is the moment where internal disappointment turned into external resolve. Pooh Shiesty didn't explode immediately. Instead, he recalibrated. He began viewing his future without depending on the same structure that once defined his rise. And when an artist starts imagining life outside a relationship, it's usually already over. The loyalty line had been crossed, at least in his mind. Then came the subtle signals. Small comments. Carefully worded messages. Hints that something wasn't right. To the casual listener, it might have seemed like nothing. But to those paying attention, it was clear that tension was brewing beneath the surface. And tension in hip-hop never stays quiet for long. As more people began asking Pooh directly about Gucci, his responses became shorter. Less enthusiastic. Less protective. That alone spoke volumes. Artists don't distance themselves publicly unless something has already broken privately. Meanwhile, the industry watched closely. Executives, artists, and insiders understood what was happening. This wasn't a sudden beef, it was a slow collapse. The kind that happens when communication stops and assumptions take over. The tragedy here is that both sides may believe they're justified. Gucci likely sees himself as a businessman who made rational decisions during a complicated situation. Pooh sees himself as an artist who was left standing alone when loyalty mattered most. And when two truths exist at the same time, conflict becomes inevitable. By now, the idea of reconciliation felt distant. Not because it was impossible, but because trust, once fractured, doesn't repair easily. Especially when public opinion has already picked sides. And that's where this story starts turning dangerous. Because when an artist feels unheard, unsupported, and underestimated, the next move is rarely quiet. It's calculated. It's intentional. And it's usually public. The industry has seen this pattern before. Artists don't call out mentors without reaching a breaking point. And by the time whispers of Pooh Shiesty being done began circulating, insiders knew something big was coming. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming control. Pooh Shiesty wasn't trying to burn bridges, he was preparing to walk away from one. And that decision alone sent shockwaves through the culture. Because if this relationship truly ends, it won't just affect two people. It will change how artists view loyalty, mentorship, and power dynamics in hip-hop. When the whispers finally turned into action, the moment was electric. Pooh Shiesty didn't hold back. He made it clear to the world that he was done waiting for validation, done waiting for loyalty he believed was owed, and done pretending everything was fine. The first signs were subtle: social media posts, carefully worded captions, and videos that hinted at frustration. But anyone paying attention could read between the lines. Something had shifted irreversibly. And in hip-hop, subtlety rarely lasts. The streets demand clarity, and fans demand drama. Then came the public call-out. Pooh Shiesty addressed Gucci Mane directly, naming loyalty as the issue and letting the world know he felt abandoned. It wasn't just words, it was a declaration. The kind that forces everyone to pick a side. For fans, it was shocking, but not entirely unexpected. Anyone who had been following the tension noticed the signs building for months. And now, the narrative was no longer just speculation. It was real, and it was loud. From the industry perspective, reactions were immediate. Fellow artists weighed in, some defending Pooh, others urging calm. Some even questioned the timing, wondering if the call-out was influenced by external pressures or personal frustration. But one thing was undeniable: the dynamics of 1017 Records and the broader hip-hop landscape had been shaken. Pooh Shiesty's message was clear: loyalty isn't optional. It's not a talking point for press releases or Instagram captions. It's a commitment that lasts when the cameras aren't rolling and the spotlight isn't shining. And if that loyalty isn't reciprocated, relationships can collapse fast. Gucci Mane, in response, stayed measured. While he didn't immediately escalate the situation publicly, insiders suggest he was assessing the impact of the call-out. Reputation management in hip-hop isn't just about words, it's about perception. Gucci Mane's brand has always relied on control, foresight, and influence. And now, that brand faced scrutiny in a way it hadn't before. For Pooh, the call-out wasn't about creating drama, it was about reclaiming power. After months of feeling sidelined, overlooked, and unheard, he was sending a message: I will not be ignored, and my value will not be diminished. Fans reacted instantly. Comments exploded, debates ignited across social media platforms, and news outlets picked up the story. Some applauded Pooh for standing his ground, calling it a bold move that few artists would dare. Others criticized the public approach, arguing loyalty disputes should remain private. But in hip-hop, privacy is rare. When the narrative hits the streets, it spreads like wildfire, and every listener, every fan, and every rival becomes part of the conversation. Pooh Shiesty's call-out had done exactly that. The deeper story, however, lies in what this means for future relationships in the industry. Artists are now watching closely. Mentors are being scrutinized. Labels are reassessing how they manage talent. And loyalty, long considered an unspoken code, has been thrust into the spotlight. For Pooh Shiesty personally, this move marked a turning point. Whether reconciliation happens or not, he demonstrated that his voice matters, that his perspective will be heard, and that he isn't afraid to stand up for what he believes. In a world where artists often feel silenced or exploited, this is significant. Meanwhile, the broader hip-hop world is observing. Industry veterans, fellow rappers, and fans alike are debating who is right, who is wrong, and what lessons can be learned. Loyalty is a fragile thing in any field, but in hip-hop, where fame, money, and reputation collide with personal history and street credibility, it can be explosive. As the dust settles, one thing is certain: this isn't just a feud. It's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that relationships built on trust and loyalty must be nurtured, protected, and honored. And if they aren't, the fallout can reach far beyond the individuals involved. Pooh Shiesty's call-out may close one chapter, but it opens a larger conversation about mentorship, respect, and accountability in hip-hop. It reminds everyone, artists, labels, and fans alike, that loyalty isn't a gimmick. It's real. It's valuable. And when it's broken, the consequences echo loudly. The final lesson here is clear. In an industry that moves fast and rewards spectacle, authenticity and loyalty remain priceless commodities. Pooh Shiesty's stand isn't just about a single mentor-mentee relationship. It's a statement about self-respect, boundaries, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing is undeniable: hip-hop will never look at loyalty the same way again. The streets are watching. The fans are talking. And the industry? Well, it's paying attention. Pooh Shiesty made his move. Gucci Mane made his choice. And the lesson for everyone watching is simple: loyalty is priceless, but silence can be deadly. The saga isn't over, but one thing is clear: lines have been drawn, and there's no going back. Now that you've seen the full story, from the early days of mentorship, the rising tension, to the explosive call-out, it's time to hear from you. What do you think really happened between Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane? Was this a betrayal, a misunderstanding, or just the natural outcome of an industry that doesn't always value loyalty the way it should? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know which side you're on. Are you Team Pooh, standing with him on loyalty and respect? Or do you think Gucci Mane was just playing the long game and doing what he thought was best for his brand? No sugarcoating. Tell it like you see it. And don't forget to hit that like button if this video gave you the full story you were waiting for. It helps the channel know that content like this matters, and trust me, there's a lot more breaking news and behind-the-scenes drama coming your way. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be the first to catch updates on this saga, plus all the biggest moments in hip-hop, the real stories the mainstream won't show you. Finally, share this video with your friends and fellow fans. The more people join the conversation, the hotter the debate gets. Loyalty, betrayal, and hip-hop drama, this is exactly the kind of story you don't want to miss, and the streets are already talking. So join in, get involved, and let's see where this story goes next. Comment, like, subscribe, and share. The conversation starts with you.